All right, with me today is Alayna Gardner with Lodestar. Alayna, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. All right, let's jump right in. What are you and by extension the team at Lodestar doing today to help loan officers and well, really just companies in general, banks, credit unions, mortgage companies, et cetera, market themselves better, set themselves apart from their competition, like a marketing perspective today, more so than you would have maybe like a year or two ago?
Yeah. So I started with Lodestar 2 years ago. So our marketing program is really only about 2 years old. So I think that's a great thing. And really the biggest thing we focused on is clarity. And I think from a marketing perspective for mortgage lenders, for LOs, one of the biggest things we can do for our consumers is provide them with the information they need to feel empowered to make decisions. And one of the things we do at Lodestar is we produce an ongoing series called LA Challenges, where we take a deep dive into each individual state. And while we're not necessarily going through the calculations themselves of how these closing costs are made, it explains them in an easy to read format where a consumer would understand them. And we offer that as a resource to the entire mortgage industry on our website, whether or not you're a client, because some of this content and specifically pieces like ours can just be so nitty gritty and honestly tough to consume, tough to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really about how can we provide more clarity for the mortgage space and for, at the end of the day, the borrower who's looking at this huge bill, right, of title agent fees, of transfer taxes, recording fees. What's an intangible tax?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important. And even for some of our newer LOs to understand that better so they can explain it to their borrowers, and be more empowered. I think one of the biggest things we're seeing on like TikTok and all of that is the honesty is really showing,
A
and who
hundred
you
percent.
are
Yeah.
with as much content as we produce nowadays, everyone's going to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about figuring out who you are, finding your voice, and providing resources to your consumers.
Yeah, what I love about that is you're taking this like the giant complex concept of buying a home, and you've found this really great niche of like what's the actual cost beyond just that $500,000 purchase price and the just kind of miscellaneous fees, but it's taking all that together and simplifying it to make sure that each locality, MSA, zip code, city, every like especially like when you're up in New England, right? Every one of those
Mhm.
little townships, those little small towns has their own individual like tax base, rate, little mill levy fees, things like that. And particularly if you are like you said, a newer loan officer and you're licensed in multiple states, knowing what the actual cost of buying a home is in each one of those little different towns is very, very difficult to bring together very simply. And I know there's a whole major operational aspect to Lodestar, making sure that those closing costs are captured efficiently, automatically, and guaranteeing it, right? Like making sure that those
Yes,
fees are going to be the fees that you're going to have on that closing cost, right? Not just in
correct.
LE, like that has to that has to be correct. But so talk to me a little more about though, what are some of the assets that you are providing for these loan officers? And I think that's really cool that you guys are providing this for not just Lodestar clients, which I know that number is growing, and you guys are a newer company, but you are a small fish in a big pond. But that fish is like a goldfish that you release into the wild that's going to get huge, right? So you guys you're growing very fast right now, and I love that about it. But talk to me a little bit more about like what can a loan officer go on to lodestar.com and excuse me, Lodestars, right?
Yeah, lodestarss.com. It's a fun story for
Lodestarss.com.
anyone in marketing. You know how hard it is to buy a domain. I'm trying.
I'm trying.
Um, I'm trying. But I think we provide not only that LA Challenges series that is like I'd say a quarterly series. We put out about 4 or 5 states each quarter. Um, but on top of that, our CEO will put out a weekly blog, kind of going through his viewpoint on where the industry is at. Occasionally, if there's something out going on in the industry that he feels another member of the team would be better to speak to,
Mm-hmm.
myself or our CS director or even our CTO will kind of take that space for a week. So we'll highlight that. We've done a couple of guest spots as well. Um, then on top of that, we also produce a podcast every week. So Lodestar's Lending Leaders. So if you're looking to learn more about the operations side, workflow management, we've covered basically every piece of the puzzle, from sales to ops to home inspections. And you're just looking to learn more about the mortgage space in general. That's what we talk about on there. We also do these really fun recaps from all of the shows. I go to a lot of shows. So if you're ever at a mortgage conference, I'm probably there. I
We
five.
met at MBA annual. It was great.
Yeah. So that's definitely fun. And then our funnest thing that I think is great, and it's maybe not quite for your consumer, is we release a comic strip every week.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that's my fun piece of marketing. And we really thought, we're thinking comic strip for the mortgage space. We tried it a couple weeks. I was like, we'll let it run for 2 months, see what our numbers are, and we'll come back and see if it's worth producing.
Yeah.
Our open rates have increased. Everything's better after we've released this comic strip. People are talking about it. People like it. So I think that's one of the things that, has been really important for me to learn in the marketing space. Even coming from a separate space, I came from hospitality, is kind of learning that we can push the boundaries in the mortgage space with what we're doing on a marketing perspective.
Oh, totally. Well, I think there's actually a really good principle in that. From a marketing perspective, that's just like that fun wins, right? I think most people want to be, and I think there is a larger aspect of this. I want to ask you a question about that in a minute, but in the mortgage space, it can be very, repetitive, and because it is financial and there's like heavy regulations, we can feel like we have to be, very straight laced, wearing the suit with the slick back hair and the cigar on the side or whatever. But, and talking about Wall Street and, the Fed rates and bonds and things like that. But really, truly, when you take all that away, we're also normal human beings, and we like to enjoy and love to poke fun at ourselves. And that's not just for the mortgage industry. That's just wide based. And it is that fun wins. And I love that you've noticed that from your open rates to your email, that if you're gonna have a good time, you're gonna provide something of value that is still relevant. By the way, it can't just be just something funny, because funny is intangible and isn't always funny for some people or for others. But that's so cool, and that's a fun little piece. I mean, I think for any marketer is to inject something unique like a comic strip, and something that is relatable and fun. But I think there's a bigger topic behind that, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. And that's edutainment, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the big things. You brought up TikTok, Instagram Reels. I think we're seeing that as a major trend in marketing in general, that we want to be educated, but we also want to be entertained as well. So I love your perspective on that. Like, what are you seeing in your space from kind of a B2B marketing, but maybe also in the mortgage space? Like, what are you seeing, like, people really succeeding with that edutainment?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting piece. I follow quite a few of those people, honestly, on TikTok and Instagram Reels, because I think they're just doing such unique and fun stuff. And I think there's less value in it from a B2B angle, right? At the end of the day, your business and my business are doing business. It's not that exciting. But I think there's also the very real component of human beings, right? You want to do business with people you like, with people you trust. So I think creating yourself as a resource and as kind of this trusted person in the space, regardless of whether or not they're the right person at the right time or anything like that, excluding all the sales pieces, can have a huge value. I think a lot of businesses, especially in our space, get very stuck into we're just going to put out a press release on a press wire, and we're good. That's it. And we really, when we launch integrations, we have 4 to 5 pieces of marketing collateral we work on with, a new LOS, a new POS, anyone else that we're working with. So I think that's important, right? Podcast isn't that fun, but it's a little bit more fun than reading a press release, right?
100%, 100%. I actually had a conversation at MBA annual last week with a very well-respected individual who has a PR company. And I was asking them that, this kind of same vein. I'm like, so what's the future of PR? Like, what's it like now? How are you guys adapting? Because, like you said, doing a press release, like when was the last time anyone actually sat down and read a press release, right? Like, is that actually a thing still? And yeah, it is still a thing, and it's great.
It's
It's great
still a
for
part of
clicks.
the bigger picture.
It's part of the picture, but it used to be that getting published in a industry rag was really important. That all the SEO clicks, all the backlinks, things like that were the strategy. But PR is changing really dramatically for your company. And PR is not just for B2B companies, not just for the mortgage companies, but for the individuals as well.
Mhm.
And I think that the major shift is what this individual is telling me about, and kind of what we're having this conversation around, is that PR shift has gone from your traditional rags to those individuals that make up your company, right? And it is like, coming from Alayna versus coming from Lodestar, and
Yeah.
having that personal brand attached to the company brand, and helping your employees really grow their own personal brands, connecting with their audience, who, by the way, will end up being your clients, right?
Yep.
Especially, and particularly with the mortgage industry, your personal PR is, are you a respected individual that knows your stuff? Do you have an audience that is made up of referral partners and potential clients? And are you able to educate them? Are you the go-to source for them when they look on? And by the way, more Gen Zs are starting to search on social media before Google even now. This was I just read that the other day. Like TikTok and Instagram, they're going there first before they even go to Google, which literally blew my mind. So if you think that, like, going forward, if your social is not a strategy, like, you're going to get left in the dust. So I love that you guys are thinking about this. That's huge.
Yeah, and I think it's honestly, if you're B2C and you're not on social media, you're making a mistake, right?
Mhm.
I think that's very straightforward, and it's, you know, a huge part of it is figuring out your platform, what works well for you. You can't try and be someone else on one of these platforms. You have to be yourself. And there are some limitations, like some companies aren't going to let you be on TikTok, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's going to be so important, especially in the current market, is finding a company that not only you want to work for, but also works for you in how you do your business as a loan officer, as a real estate agent, as a salesperson, right?
Yep.
Um, because I think we're going to start to see more and more salespeople becoming content creators,
Oh,
right?
totally. I mean, selfishly, like, I see it all the time, right? We've got thousands of loan officers are on our platform, helping to use some of our content, the content that their companies have created, to, kind of fill those gaps and keep things more
Social's a lot
consistent
of
for
work.
them. It is a lot of work, and for an individual loan officer, they don't always have the time. And so I love that, they don't have the time, they don't know exactly what to post. So I love that you guys you've created this platform, and on the website lodestarss.com, to be a resource for content ideas, really, right? I think that's one of the biggest problems that prohibits people from really growing their social presence, is not really knowing what to talk about, what to do. So you've got your blog, you've got your weekly podcast, you have these other assets, the Ellie Challenge, that can be some really great assets for you to then take and make it your own as an individual
Mhm.
loan officer, or marketing, if you're a marketing director or VP or whatever at a mortgage company. Go check out
Mhm.
these assets, see what they've got, and see if it makes sense for your organization. I can pretty much guarantee you that there is a lot of gems in there that you can take and help to make your company and your individuals be very successful, and the trusted resource when it comes to what is the loan actually going to cost for your borrowers, because that is something that I don't think a lot of people really plan on. I know when I bought my first home, I did not expect all those additional fees. I was thinking it's my purchase price, I knew because I was a loan officer a little bit, but still, it's like, oh my gosh, you get
You
like,
don't realize it.
it's so much.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely one of those things that I think we're going to see that information move more and more up in the pipeline and into our marketing, which is, I think, so important. It's one of the things that I think I'm the most passionate about, is how do we get these fees up the pipeline reasonably and honestly make it beneficial for all parties, is I think always been the struggle.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and it's just figuring out the right partners, the right lenders who want to work with us, have the conversation and say, how are we going to create this new technology, this new tool, this new asset? Has been that, we've always been really driven by every major modification that's happened to our software, a lender has asked us for.
Oh yeah. And that's the only way to build a business, by the way.
Yeah,
listen to your clients and, and doing what they asked you to do. Um,
exactly.
that's awesome. Well, Lana, this has been a really fun chat so far. What would you, any parting thoughts, or kind of things that lenders should be thinking about when they're thinking about their closing fees? Um, that you want to just kind of throw out there as last pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm talking to an LO, really make sure that your borrowers know what their closing costs are even before you get to that LE, right? Because you could lose so many deals, especially in states like Pennsylvania, New York, really anything on the Eastern Seaboard,
The worst.
you could lose all of your deals. And I think that's just so important to be aware of,
Yeah.
right? And while you might lose that deal today, if you create yourself as a trusted resource, someone to come back to and say, hey, how much is it actually going to cost me to close on a loan so I can save and hit the milestones I need to be in a position to have a mortgage, right?
Mhm.
Creating yourself as that resource is going to be so important. And I think the people that are doing it really well, like some of my favorite creators, I'm just going to shout them out. So
Yeah, shout 'em.
I am Stacy Real on Instagram, specifically her platform. I watched her grow from a 500 Instagram chat channel as a realtor to now she just has this amazing platform, provides so much content for LOs, and all that
That's
is
awesome.
amazing. She's been on our podcast. We also had a Nutter Home Loans. She's an NFM loan officer.
Nice.
She has over 200,000 followers on TikTok
It's
and just does
crazy.
these skits that are so funny, but also so informative. So I think it's really just about, while you're never going to be that person, how can you put your own spin on something similar? And one
Hmm.
of the things both of those people do really well is provide information and make themselves someone that you want to work with because you can trust them.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check those out. I'm not sure I'm connected to either one of them. So, thanks for those tips, Elena, and
Yeah.
thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. And as always, we'll talk soon, I'm sure. But
Yes.
thanks, guys. Okay, so last pitch though, lodestarss.com. When I'm on there, where do I
SS.com.
go to find this information?
Yeah. If you're on our community tab, that's where all of our content lives. We update it all the time. You can sign up for our Lodestar report and you'll get everything every week in your inbox on Tuesdays. And also we post all of our content to LinkedIn. So if you're a LinkedIn, not like I am, that's the word I'm
And me,
going to
yes.
use. Um, Follow us there. Honestly, we put every single piece of content we come out with on LinkedIn. And also we have some great memes on there too.
I can't wait. Love the memes. Thanks, Elena. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye, guys.